And we have a few of our illustrious board members here. You saw Sophia when we checked in. She's in charge of all things check-in, and she's our secretary. And Sean is right over here, one of our newest directors. Robin Garfield is vice president and the magic behind all of our events. And Bill Baird is one of our directors too, and he's in charge of logistics. So he makes it all happen.
Is that big enough? Sure, yeah. Okay.
And did I miss any board members? Okay. So let's just go around really quickly with introductions, and then we will get started. So why don't we start right here?
Hi, I'm Christine. I'm a resident of North Redondo and third member of High City Gardena, Audon, area.
Longdale.
Yeah.
Tri-City.
So that's why I'm curious. Okay, yeah. Great.
Yeah. My name is Kim. We're together. So I want to listen to Captain Mahoney's speech.
Thank you for coming.
Good morning, my name is Oscar, owner of Coastal Beach City Restoration. We reside here in Redondo Beach, and I just love the community and the state of Florida. Thank you.
Bill Baird, residential real estate, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.
Jim Mueller, neighbor.
We'll let...
Only guest speaker.
Yeah.
My name is Roberto, this is my wife Yolanda, and we're owners of the, took over the Redondo.
I'm going to have you come up and talk in a minute, but yeah, thank you.
Happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. We're happy to have you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Erla Marie. I'm an independent associate for Legal Shield, and I issue I sell legal service plans and identity theft protection plans. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Mark Ryan. I'm the president of Redondo Beach, been here for about a decade, and grew up in Hawthorne and Fisher most of my life. I'm also kind of a prior business. I'm an entrepreneur, kind of a prior business.
Good morning, my name is Todd Curt. My company is taking on constraint. We do information technology consulting for small and medium-sized businesses. And this is my operations manager, Kara. She's here today, making sure I'm working today.
Hi everybody, JW, resident of Redondo, also manage Miners Prince and Embroidery located in Redondo, providing print services, whether it was 1 unit or 1,000 units. Come over and talk to me, happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
I'm Robin Garfield, I'm the Vice President, NRBBA, and I'm a nonprofit consultant, so I work with charities.
I'm Sean, I help individuals, families, and businesses make smart financial decisions.
Ross Christensen, resident, and also a business. I'm with Pacific Advisors, and I work with business owners to update and future-proof their financial plans.
Good morning, I'm James, resident of North Redondo, and I also have a business in North Redondo. That's Minuteman Press. We create everything from business cards to business forms to direct mail and events and conferences, you name it, we complete it.
Mrs. Endy, introduce yourself.
Just told you I don't want to be introduced.
Oh,
Laura, we've had this whole morning of miscommunication resident of Redondo Beach.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So we are super pleased to let everybody know that the Great Room is open again, and you just met Humberto and Yolanda, and they brought coffee and bagels for us. So no donut holes. We got like big bagels today. So I want to have Humberto talk a little bit about their journey into the Great Room and how we got here. You need to come up here. Because we're on Facebook Live. That's why we're trying to use the mic that doesn't really work. So,
Brush my hair. Good morning, everybody. We're just happy to be here, and we thank every single one for having us here. So we just took over the Great Room Cafe, and it's a great place. The reason why we took it over, we've never done anything like this, the restaurant business. It's my wife's favorite place to eat at. Every time we walk in there, food is great, staff is amazing, always clean. Those three things, they go hand in hand. We loved it. She would go there 2-3 times a week. I'd be at work and I'm at the Great Room Cafe. When we found out, or she did that it was closing, she couldn't believe it. And she's very caring and giving. First thing she thought of was the staff. What are they going to do? So she was like, let's take it over. I was like, whoa. Hey, we're looking into retirement, what we're going to do. And then that's something for somebody with, is there time limit? So, I'm sorry, I keep it short, with energy, and the time and that. But we're in it, so we'd like to have you guys come over. I've heard nothing but good things about the Great Room Cafe. Everybody was shocked, sad, surprised and close. So we're back open. Hope to see you guys there. And again, thank you for having us. And please enjoy.
and I would that we can have karaoke.
We're working on that. And also for the romantic people, we're working on sax player that we hired several times. He's amazing. So you guys, date night, he puts on an amazing performance. So we're working on getting that, making it happen for you guys. Thank you.
Everybody loves good sax, so we are there.
Can I just say something else? So,
Robin, why don't you come up and tell us all about what's happening with our events, and then
okay, well, first I will say, as a follow-up to the Great Room, next Thursday evening, all of NRBBA is invited. South Bay Power Partners, which is one of the organizations that we work with, and friends of ours, is doing a mixer, a free mixer. So it's October 16th from 5:30 to 8, I think. So it's free. Go to the Great Room. It's going to be great mingling. You'll get a taste of things, have a drink, and it'll be really fun. So just wanted to mention that. And then my other big pitch, of course, now that Dine Around is completed and it was very successful, we are moving to Spring Fest. Woo! Wow. Okay, let's try this again. Spring Fest! So we are in the process of forming our committee for Spring Fest. So you might ask, what is that? What is Spring Fest? How many have been to Spring Fest? Okay, not enough of you. So it's a 4-day carnival and community festival. So it takes place in April. The dates are April 16th through 19th next year. And yes, we have to start now because there's so many pieces to it. And we really, really, really want to get more community involved in it. On our committee. So if you are interested, come talk to me or email us at info@NRBBA. And we'll get you engaged. We have a wonderful past sponsor here. James has been a sponsor of the event the last 2 years. We're also looking for sponsors. So if you haven't been, it's a full carnival. It is, we have food trucks. We have a marketplace for vendors. We have a stage. Last year, we're hoping they come back. Beach Life did our stage. We had bands playing, kids groups, everything over the 4 days. And we also did a teen night with a teen talent competition, which we're going to bring back again this year. So there's so much going on and a lot of new ideas, and we love your input because it's really about what the community wants. So, talk to me about it, or
Give us some highlights of Dine Around.
highlights of Dine Around. I don't have it in front of me, but
You know it. You know it.
I know it pretty well. So we had, I think it was 45 businesses that participated in our Dine Around events along Artesia Boulevard. If you didn't go, you missed out. So you'll have to wait till next year. But we did 2 events this year, and included businesses and included art. So in the businesses, we also had artists displaying their works to add another layer to it. And each place hosted food, and it was we sold out both events. So that was really exciting for us because we split it, so we didn't know if that would happen. So we had close to 600 attendees over the 2 events. And what else?
21 artists.
21 artists. Yeah.
And everybody had fun?
Everybody had fun. There we go. So you should have done the report. So yeah, so join us next year. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Robin. All right, we do not have any city officials here to give us an update, so we won't do that. And we'll just get started. So I want to I'm going to do a quick presentation about the Resiliency Roadmap. And basically what this is a program that the state has put together for small businesses to build a resiliency roadmap so that what they say, you do it during blue skies so that you can handle the gray skies. And the gray skies are anything that will interrupt your business. And we're going to be talking about earthquakes today because it's October Earthquake Awareness Month. But anything could interrupt your business. We have a member, Nicole, who owns Shell on the corner of Aviation and Artesia. The city's getting ready to do some construction right on that corner. That's going to interrupt your business. So these are like the things that we need to think about. It's not always a fire or some huge thing. It could be anything that slows down, like all your employees have COVID, and what are you going to do? So what we're going to do in February is we'll have a speaker from the state go over the whole plan and the workbook. And then after that, we'll have a workshop here. So we'll actually, any of the businesses that want to fill out the workbook and actually think about what their resiliency plan is, we'll have guidance so that we can do that together. So basically, it's to go over the plan, and on the front desk, we have some of these workbooks. So you can grab a workbook now if you want, just to take a look, and you're welcome to get started with it too. Protect your operations and be able to recover faster. So what the state has found is that 40% of small businesses can't even open after a disaster. After something that shuts them down, they can't open because they haven't really planned properly. So that's what we want to help you with, is that planning. We'll also invite, the Chamber, Riviera Village, King Harbor Associates, like the entire city to get involved because that will help us all be more resilient. So these are the steps, talking about what the potential threats are, establishing the communications channels, which is really important, understanding your operations, everyone's operation is different, looking at the hazard mitigation planning, and Captain Mahoney is going to help us with that today, understanding your insurance and finances, because we don't pay attention to that all enough. And then creating and testing the emergency response plan. And Captain Mahoney will also talk today about having a drill at your business, especially obviously if you have a brick and mortar. You've got all these employees, what if there is an earthquake? We are so fortunate, and I feel like I might be jinxing things, but we haven't had an earthquake in a little while. But what happens if you do, especially if you have a brick and mortar with all the employees? So, so this is the workbook. Here we go. And stay tuned. February 12th is when we'll be having the workshop and the broader presentation. And with that, I'm introducing Captain Curt Mahoney, who is going to refresh us on some of our earthquake skills. Captain Mahoney.
doing? So when I hear Bill is in charge of logistics,
Sure.
that's the guy that I go to. As a firefighter, whenever we go on strike team deployments for big wildland firefighters, and I've got a crew of 4 on my engine, inevitably everyone turns around like, where's the chow and where are the heads at some point? So logistics plays a huge part in any sort of endeavor. So thanks for managing the logistic piece. For my part, and Vicki spoke to this briefly, the hazard mitigation piece is why I'm here. And just to bring everyone up to speed, whether you're aware or you aren't aware of what we, the Redondo Beach Fire Department, what we do internally, our operations when it comes to an earthquake here. Whether it's the epicenter is somewhere in Los Angeles or it's reverberated from somewhere south or farther north, and we feel the effects of that to any degree, irregardless of its severity. There's a standard operating procedure that the fire department utilizes in those instances. And that standard operating procedure is we will pull all the rigs, if they're in the station currently, we need to get them out of the station. We're unaware, hopefully the app bay doors are working normally post-earthquake, but there could be structural integrity issues, right, with the fire stations themselves. So we need to get the rigs out of the app bays and get them on the front aprons in front of the stations. From there, each apparatus that's in the city of Redondo Beach, they run or drive a pre-designated route within the city. So on any given day, now this is just for the city of Redondo Beach. I can't speak to, let's say, how Culver City runs their operation, or Beverly Hills, or LAFD, but I would imagine they're similar, but I don't know how they run them. In Redondo Beach, for our fire department, we'll have these pre-designated routes. And the thought or the rationale behind that is if this earthquake is severe enough and it's caused quite a bit of damage to infrastructure and residential homes and businesses, there's going to be a lot of calls to 911. That's assuming that the 911 system is even working, right, depending on the severity. So this has the potential to be a very large problem. And in order to manage that large problem, we need to break it down into small pieces. And we do that by driving these routes. So just be aware, again, depending on the severity of the earthquake or whatever the disaster is, whether it's natural or man-made, we're going to have to first do an assessment, like what exactly happened and how bad is the damage before we start running calls, right? Because as calls come in or don't come in due to lack of communication, everyone probably thinks that their emergency is the most important. And while it certainly is important, we need to prioritize and organize and then tackle those problems in that order of priority and depth and breadth of that, right? So we drive these pre-designated routes and we basically just do an assessment. What do we see? What do we hear? Is there problems with the roads? Are there power lines down? Are there small fires started? And that's what we do the first moments or minutes or even hours of an earthquake. If you see a red rig go by, chances are it's going to keep going by, right? So if you've got a severely damaged business or you've got injuries in your business, whether it's customers, employees, yourself, just so you're aware, the intent is to drive and assess. It's not to stop and help right? Because if we do that for every single person, business, whatever, we'll never get the initial assessment done. So the rigs will go out, they'll drive their pre-designated routes, they'll make notes, observations, and then they report it back to the incident commander, which is typically the on-duty division chief. Can be the chief, but if it's after hours, right, after 5, once he leaves the office typically, unless he's in meetings with the council or something like that, the on-duty division chief will start to manage this. As a sort of a larger organizational piece, we'll typically, again, depending on the severity and amount of damage, we'll open the Emergency Operations Center, which is the EOC, which is basically a big war room, if you will, within the city. There's a couple locations. Either we can do it down in the dispatch center, which is below grade, below the police station, the police department station on Diamond and PCH, or upstairs at the main library. So we've got a couple different locations. That EOC, or Emergency Operations Center, is designed to help take in these inputs from, at least from the fire department piece, right? There's going to be a PD piece, public work piece, like all the resources come to bear from a city perspective in these instances, and we start to manage the problem. So just as a quick primer, that's what our goals and objectives are, that's what we do, that's what you can expect if there's a large enough earthquake that's causing damage and issues and problems. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As far as you then on the individual level, did I hear correctly, you were part of the CERT program in Gardena?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tri-City.
Okay. And I'm gonna put you on the spot, and it's okay if you don't remember, but do you remember sort of the ethos or the overarching idea behind CERT?
Yeah. So you first help yourself, and then you help your family, and then you help your neighbors.
That is it in a nutshell.
Can you repeat that?
It's Facebook Live, if you didn't hear. It's help yourself first, your family, and your neighbors. And I think that ethos has the same carryover into the small business, right? If you're hurt, you can't really help anyone, right? So what does that can look like any number of things, right? And usually in an earthquake, there's some sort of potential for a physical injury, whether something falls off a shelf, a cabinet, whatever, the roof of a building onto a person. There's sharp glass pieces everywhere potentially. There's a higher likelihood of some sort of trauma, whether it's minor or major, to occur during an earthquake. So am I okay, right? That's the first thing you should ask yourself. If you're not injured, then at least in this setting form, instead of family, well, depending on your level of relationships within your business, I hope they're solid and good with your employees, but that's for all intents and purposes your family, right? Are your employees?
Right.
How are they, is anyone else hurt, right? And there's an assessment you do within the business, right? And then you got to ask yourself, in this instance with CERT, it's community, residential related, it's like, how's your neighborhood? Well, in this case, I would imagine it would be, how are my fellow business owners? I'm sure for a lot of you, you're probably part of a commercial row, or you're probably part of a taxpayer, which would be like commercial and residential overhead, or you're part of a strip mall, right? All these nomenclatures are basically to describe multiple businesses in a row. There can be smaller, sort of independent, or even larger type of warehouse businesses, but usually there's other businesses right around the area. So with the development of the plan, part of that piece is in the hazard mitigation is once we've gotten past, hey, I'm okay, my employees are okay, how can I help out my fellow business owners, right? So this is the fundamental, at a very basic level, what you want to try to address. Because, again, the fire department, the police department, all the things that, whether you are aware of them or not, or take for granted or not, that happen on the daily, they're probably not going to happen day of or night of this incident, right? And be prepared for that normal system to not be available for up to 72 hours, okay? Business as usual, it's not going to be business as usual, at least from a response standpoint. As we begin to manage the problem, get our arms around it, and now we're bringing in resources from Greater Los Angeles County and different areas of LA County, and now maybe perhaps we're bringing in regional resources from up in Northern California, Southern California, Orange County, right? And if it's so big, and Phil, you had mentioned Katrina, it sounded like you had some experience with that, right?
Yes.
These larger type incidents, like now we're getting resources from other states potentially, and then at the federal level. So all these things come to bear. So we're trying to manage that internally initially, and then try and get help out as soon as possible, but that takes time. And yes?
What do we do if we own a business and we take care of our employees, but now we've actually got our family is kind of spread out all over the place? I mean, we have to have a communication plan with our family too, right?
Yeah, 100%. So, you know, as part of that program through Cal OSBA, there's a worksheet in there where you can chart and have, whether you store it, I mean, I always advise have it on paper. You can certainly store this information on the cloud or whatever sort of digital format you utilize, but Also having a paper backup of, for lack of a better term, who's who in the zoo. Like, who's working today, who's their emergency contact. Just having an accountability piece, yeah, is key. In the initial phases, anything we can do to eliminate sort of confusion and lack of clarity is beneficial. So that's a really important point, Vicki. Having an accountability piece, who's working today, who do we need to contact? Because again, if they're injured and the injury is severe enough where their ability to function mentally, like their cognition, they may not be able to communicate with you, right? Well, who is their family member? If you don't have these things charted out ahead of time, well, then how do we contact them, right? And as you build these things out, just be aware, you know, I'm not suggesting you start calling everyone and, hey, there's been an earthquake and this person's hurt, because there's a back-end effect of that, right? When you reach out as the responsible person, the business owner, and if you take charge of this and you're attempting to contact employees, family members, or whatever, there's probably going to be panic. Oh my God, are they okay, right? All the time I go on calls, medical calls, and I'm usually charged amongst many things with communication with a family member that's not on the scene. And I'm always, you know, aware that if I start just spouting stuff out, it's going to create more confusion, potential panic. So that's a kind of a deep dive you can take. But if you have, a communication piece and an accountability sheet and contacts filed away somewhere, that would be great. As part of that overall program or plan, you do need to be thinking about, as you sort of scan your business, what are the hazards within my business, right? I think it can be tough to balance safety with the practical sort of applications of your business. For example, Mickey had shared some pictures with me from a coffee shop. And in that coffee shop, there's a
Espresso machine.
Espresso machine. There's, ceramic coffee cups stacked, fairly high. There's a lot of glassware. I mean, that's part of doing that business, right? But then the question becomes, is that probably the best place to just put the glasses, right? In an earthquake, they're stacked so high. Now they're going to be wobbling, falling, breaking. Now you've got broken ceramic glass everywhere. So as you're going through your business, just be aware, like if things are on the wall, on a shelf, stacked high, and they're heavy, hard, breakable, they're probably going to fall over, right? And so what does that look like? Is there better ways to store that? Or in some cases, it is what it is. So only you can answer that, but I think if you haven't thought about that, think about that next time you're in your business. Is there things that could physically fall off, shake, break, all of it, right? And then now we've got broken glass everywhere. Now we've got, that's another issue potentially to manage. So just be thinking about, sort of earthquaking proof your business, for lack of a term. Yes?
Yeah, do the same thing at your house.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of these things may sound or seem self-evident, but maybe they're not. I think about these things, right? I have a different view of the world, and at least from a safety perspective, because it's what I do on the daily. If you don't have the bandwidth for that, or you're just trying to run your business, this is a great opportunity to maybe start thinking about these things if you haven't to this point.
During blue skies.
Yes, 100%. So the accountability piece, making sure your business is earthquake-proof to the best that you can accomplish that is great. I think another piece too is just making sure your basic equipment, fire suppression equipment, is working out. It's a responsibility of the fire department to come out and do the annual inspections, but like your fire extinguisher, make sure it's been serviced and it's ready to go, right? Knowing where your gas shutoffs are, knowing where your water shutoffs are, knowing where your electrical shutoffs are, your breaker panels, and educating your employees on these things as well, right? Like, hey, here's where the electrical is, here's where ... is. And I think it's good whether you do it through however your meetings are set up, having a safety component, not just about sales and, hey, customer service and all the things traditionally associated with the business, and when you meet with your employees and your managers on the regular, have a safety component. And it doesn't need to be this long, drawn out, hours-long thing. hey, let's just take 5 minutes and does everyone know where the fire extinguisher is? Right? Because a lot of times when I was in the bureau and I do inspections, I wouldn't go to where the extinguisher, I'd grab an employee or manager or business owner and say, hey, show me where your fire extinguisher is. And the majority of the time they knew, but there were a lot of times they didn't, especially employees, right? Because employees a lot of times come and go, they're new, and maybe they didn't get part of that education is a part of their onboarding piece, right? So hey, do you know where this stuff is? If you have an AED in your business, an automatic or automated external defibrillator, the battery's good, is it working? And then providing some sort of education in basic first aid, CPR, and usage of these devices would be great. I am involved with that to a certain extent, specifically with CPR and first aid, and I can be reached through my city email. It's Curt, CURT.Mahoney, MAHONEY, @redondo.org. And we can certainly have a conversation. I'm a one-person shop, so my bandwidth is limited. But certainly if your business is desirous of having these education pieces, reach out to me. And we can have a conversation, and we can try and schedule some time so I can come in and speak to these things specifically. Hey, this is how the AED works. And here's some basic first aid and hands-only CPR, right? We could spend maybe 30 minutes to an hour just going over this, just as an FYI. And then I think knowing the people in your business community and what their skill set is valuable. So to Bill's point, you know, when you want to take it the next step further, hey, I'm okay, my family's okay, and now I want to help my neighbors. So the question becomes, what does that look like exactly? And from my perspective, it looks like engaging your neighbors, or in this case, your fellow business owners, about, hey, what is it that you are good at or have experience in or are skilled at? Maybe there's a designated first aid place or first aid person, business owner, manager within the commercial row or the strip mall. Maybe there's someone that understands logistics. Maybe business B over here is going to be the designated water sort of depot support place, right? We've got, I don't know, a 50-gallon drum. We can hold fresh water that we can purify, and then we can provide water for everyone within the community, right? So, and these are just conversations that you need to have. I think the big key piece of it is engagement, and then after that is having conversations, because I can give you all sorts of plans, and you need to do this, but everyone's a little nuanced, right? So it's bespoke in a lot of cases. So I can give you some true north, if you will, but at the end of the day, what Alberto's business looks like compared to Bill's business, compared to Mickey's, can be completely different, right? I mean, right, I got a veterinarian office over here, I've got a coffee shop here, and I've got a running shoe place over here. Well, okay, those are 3 different businesses, and who are the people that are working there, and what are their skill sets? So having an understanding of your community where the strengths and weaknesses are within that community, I think that's key. But it all starts with, one, engagement and having those conversations. The fact that everyone's here this morning at least signals to me that everyone wants to be more aware and engaged. So, but these are some basic sort of things to be thinking about: basic safety, taking care of yourself, your family, your employees in this instance, your business. And yeah, again, I'm here as a resource. The department is here as a resource. We'll help you to the best of our ability. But I'm happy to field any questions anyone has, and I'll answer those to the best of my ability.
So
Yeah.
I have a really probably stupid question, but
No.
how do you refill your fire extinguishers?
So,
Can you repeat the question?
how do you refill your fire extinguishers?
Or how
So-
do you test? Like I have to, and I'm pretty confident they're somewhat empty.
Gotcha.
Not just over time, right?
Okay. So I guess my question to you is, well, number one, are these like smaller sort of extinguishers that are just tucked somewhere like you would buy for your home, or are these actually like larger?
No, like for our homes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So technically you're supposed to have, as a very minimum, it's called a 2A10BC extinguisher. It's a dry chemical extinguisher, and they're red, right?
Yes.
They're probably 1.5 to about 1.5. those extinguishers have a tag that's on them. They're not purchased with a tag. When you acquire one of those, a state fire marshal certified fire extinguisher company will either come out or you take the fire extinguisher to them, they'll certify it, make sure it's good to go, and then it's good for a year. So that's part of our annual inspection. In this case, Google is your friend. I'm not, or whatever your search engine jam is, I'm not.
So there's a company that does it.
There are companies, there is a company specifically in this area. I can't say, hey, go to this place, because it's not right. You get it. But there are companies that manage that, yeah. If you are just, whatever, it's just not making sense, maybe reach out to fellow business owners and they'll let you know. So that company, again, they'll service it and they'll tag it. So when I do part of my inspection back when I was in the Bureau, I'd look at your extinguisher. Is the gauge in the green? Is it pressurized? Are there any cracks in the bottle, cracks in the hose? Is the pin in place and has it been in service? That's a pretty common violation that's issued is, hey, your fire extinguishers need to be redone. And that's an annual. Again, this is for businesses and multi-residential units like apartment buildings. This isn't your own residential home.
Yeah, I work at my home, so.
Oh, okay.
But I still.
Gotcha. So that helps bring some clarity. And I should have asked, what exactly is the business?
Yeah.
So you're not required by law to have a 2A10BZ?
Well, we have it,
So yeah. So and to my understanding, I don't think you're required to have it tagged, but for your own information and safety and all of it, that's the recommendation. Annually, have it done. Sorry, kind of a long-winded answer, but.
No, that's good
Okay,
information.
all right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
How often would you say, I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but the educational pieces for business owners with their employees, how often would you say they should do that, like recurring?
A drill.
So I would say a drill is good annually or anytime you have a higher turnover. Now only you can define that. If I were just to pull out a number off my head, like half my staff left for whatever reason, like in the last few months. They moved, they're on to another job or whatever. Because that's can be sort of the rub, if you will. If there's high turnover for no other reason than that it just is, well now it's like, shoot, you gotta stay on that, right? But if I've got a business and it's maybe family run, it's like no one's going nowhere, or people are really into the business, like they've embraced the culture, what you're all about, and they're sticking around, I think maybe, biannually is fine. So, but only you can answer that at the end of the day. And then develop a drill at some point, right? And really the drill is more of like an awareness, like I wouldn't think of it as like, hey, we're all going to get in a line, like back in school, we're all going to go outside, right? Because there's other considerations as well. What I think is hard to capture in a conversation, unless you've had experience with it, what's hard to capture in a conversation or even a training environment or a drill is people's reactions. You can't, there's no way that I'm aware of where you can replicate or capture that. And when an earthquake hits, for example, there was an earthquake, this was back in 2008, 2009, that I was in Hermosa Beach, living there at the time. My wife and I had a brand new baby at home. It was our first night out after post-birth of Riley. My mom comes over to watch Riley, and my wife and I are out on date night, right? And we're excited, it's been a few months, like we're running on fumes from all of it, right? And the earthquake hits. We're in a restaurant in Hermosa on Pier Ave. And literally it felt like the whole building got lifted up and it dropped on the ground. It was like, boom, And the reactions, I mean, I had the wherewithal just because I have some experience with it in my background. I was able to kind of, in my mind, take a step back and observe. The reactions were all over the board in this restaurant. There were people that just started beelining it for the door, right? There's other people who were just sitting there dumbfounded like deers in a headlight. There were other people that were, you know what I mean? There was a multitude of reactions. So that's just something to be prepared for. So just be aware that you can put all these plans in place and everything, but from your employees to your customers especially, and to a certain extent, all bets are off. So just be aware of that. But it is beneficial to have conversations about, okay, if this, then that, right? Have some sort of procedure, have some sort of basic plan in place, and then train on that and execute on that. How small that drill is or plan, or how big that drill is or plan is dependent upon you and what you want, right? I got people in my CERT classes, they've got a go bag, and it's got a flashlight, a can of nuts, and a tourniquet, right? And they're light and they're fast. I've had people build sheds in their backyards dedicated to this prospect of Earth, and there's nothing wrong with either one. It just depends on what you think is important. But if we can hit some basics, the things we talked about this morning, accountability, fire extinguisher, maybe some basic first aid, and just be talking about, hey, if we hear smell gas, this is where you turn off the gas at the main, right? Typically in the back of the business, maybe on the side of the building. If there's a small fire, this is how you use extinguisher. Hey, who's in charge of getting hold of ... for a communication piece, right? So maybe giving assignments. I would imagine these are typically in the management arena or area, but I mean, it just depends on your business and the relationships you have going. So hopefully that answers your question and makes sense.
We have a question right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, thank you for being here.
No, you're welcome.
Yes, very good talk. One of the things I want to hear about is when do you activate your Redondo Beach search? That's why I'm Tri-City search.
Yeah.
I can't get into Redondo Beach search, know what's going on there.
Okay, so that depends. For those that don't know, CERT is Community Emergency Response Team or Response Training. Most cities in Los Angeles have a program like this. We do have one in Redondo Beach. In fact, we have a class going right now. We're in like week 5 or 6, I believe, with graduation on November 1st. This is, at least in Redondo Beach, it's a 9-week program. And we show up every Thursday from 5:30 to 7 at the main library, 2nd floor, when the program's going, and we talk about all these things. And we take some deep dives on some of these things. CPR, first aid. You get certifications in both of those, CPR and first aid. We talk about disaster preparedness. We talk about disaster psychology, right? People's reactions and what you may expect and what may surprise you from your own reaction if you don't have experience with these things. And even when you do in some cases. We talk about any number of disciplines over those 9 weeks. And then it culminates in graduation where the group or the academy or the team is given a multi-casualty incident to manage, right? It's obviously a fake one. We get local Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts in, we paint them with moulage and blood and put fake glass in their skin, and this group manages it. Once they graduate, then they're part of the CERT team. The CERT team is a community group that has this specialized training that the fire departments can reach out to and help as part of the management piece, specifically operationally with these large incidents. So for example, large earthquake hits, and now we're 24, 48, maybe 72 hours into this thing. At some point, the conversation is happening at the Emergency Operations Center. Hey, what other resources can we bring to bear to help manage this? And in that instance, perhaps the CERT team will be activated. Now, there's conversations with these teams ahead of time. Usually there's a pre-designated rallying point, whether it's a local high school or a field. It's usually a field in a larger area, right, not a building. So I'm not saying these are it, but for example, like the football field at Redondo Union, or the baseball field over at Camino Real and Prospect there, or out north here at one of the local parks, right?
Anderson.
Right, Anderson, or one of those. And then there's a representative from usually the fire department that organizes that team, and that team is debriefed on the situation, and hey, here's what we're looking for this group to do. And that can be any number of things, right? Whether it's like search and rescue, whether it's providing logistical help, setting up, I don't know, maybe the auditoriums at Redondo Union are going to be utilized as a depot to catch people that are out because their homes are destroyed and all of it, right? Hey, we're going to send you to the high school, you're going to help set up cots and blankets and first aid stations and bring in water, all of it, right? So they typically are used in a logistical piece of the operation, but it's an important piece. Like I said, logistics is everything. So that's typically what this CERT team does. Now, they can be activated in non-emergency events as well. For those that have had some history here in the city, do you remember, we nicknamed it Fishgate.
Sardines.
Yeah, the giant sardine and Brennan issue we had. several years ago, right?
Yep.
And the whole harbor stunk to high heaven. Well, that's a huge economic driver for the city, right? People don't want to be in an area where it stinks to high heaven. How do you get rid of like hundreds of thousands, like literally thousands of fish that are just floating on the top and decaying and dying off? The CERT team is actually brought in as a manpower, woman power piece to help get the fish out of the harbor, right? And so they've been used in the Amgen bike race, right? That's divided into different, that was years ago, but we divided the course into multiple areas. Each division was given a paramedic and then 2 CERT members to render first aid to spectators or bicyclists. So it has a multitude of uses, and those are instances or uses or situations in which the CERT team is called to bear.
Are there any other questions for Captain Mahoney?
Yes, sir.
Well, for business people, continuity of your business would be a big issue. And also, not to be too cynical about it, but sometimes a disaster can offer a business opportunity. So as part of your planning, could business continuity, like finding another location or having a location ready to go to keep your business running, and perhaps take advantage of the conditions that have arisen in the earthquake or whatever disaster it is.
For sure.
Is that part of the planning too?
I would think, I don't know for sure. I would imagine at some point during the EOC conversation, and now we're starting to mitigate this, and we've got a lack of water, we've got a lack of food, we've got a lack of ... Is there a business or businesses within the city of Redondo Beach that can help provide that for the citizenry at large? As just a spectator on the sidelines, when I've seen that like on the national news, it seems like a lot of times that happens organically. Like businesses, like the community supports the business, and now the business is going to support the community. And now the coffee shop, right, is giving out free coffee. Like as long as they're structurally sound and their equipment's working, hey, we can provide this. Am I a telecommunications business? Maybe there's some sort of expertise locally that I can come to bear and help manage that piece of it, right? And there's a delicate balance between, I think, and I would hope in most cases, people want to come out and help.
Right.
Whether it's individuals or businesses. The only issue with that is like when everyone comes out to help, well then everyone comes out to help. There can be a duplication of efforts. It can sort of jam up the operational piece. Like actually, we've thought of that and we're handling that, right? And that can result in like frustration a lot of times. And maybe apprehension, like, well, I guess they don't want me, I'm not going to do anything. I would say if your business is operational from a support standpoint, hopefully through the communication piece, we can provide an opportunity for businesses to reach out to the planning officials, the EOC, whatever. Hey, I'm business XYZ over here, and I've got, just to let you know, I've got plenty of coffee for the troops, or I've got plenty of fill in the blank, and I can help out from a technical expertise piece. They'll take that information, and then they'll disseminate, hey, like, we're good, or hey, actually tell me more about that. Like, what does that look like, right? What's tough always in planning, I think, at least from my perspective and experience, is you can try and plan for everything, but there's just always unknowns. Like, I've got multiple templates in my brain for single-family residential structure fire, hazmat incident, marina incident, like you name it, right? But when I show up, almost in every instance, nothing goes according to plan because of the nature of what I'm dealing with. It's an emergency, and they're very dynamic. And so, but I've got this basic plan in my head, but I'm not married to it either, right? And it's like, okay, this is what I work off of, but I got to be able to be flexible. I got to be able to maybe change, alter the plan a little bit. So these are some of the challenges that come with planning. But I think if you have a basic plan in place for your business, and you start to build it out and work it out, like that's way better than nothing, right? At least we've got something that we can work with here. And then you kind of go from there. But there are some instances where afterwards, you know, the lesson learned piece, oh, I didn't realize that. Or I side, and whether it's your own business or the city officials or the chiefs and all the higher ups, right? Well, I guess we hadn't thought of that, and then you build out from that as well.
And I think one of those unique situations, Jim, you remember when we did Feed Our Firefighters. So our firefighters were all going into LA, but coming home at night, and so NRBBA was tasked with getting the businesses together to help, give you food. So it didn't happen in our community, but so many people in our community were tasked with helping out, and everybody jumped on it.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, again, just so we're clear, there's let's call it the acute phase. All right, it just happened. The earthquake happened. It was a bad one. Am I okay? Is my family okay? Or my employees or my neighbors or my fellow business owners okay? Right? Let's just start there, right? As a basic plan. As time goes on, I would hope and I would imagine there will be a lot of sort of organic action that happens. Hey, we're going to rally the troops, as it were. We're going to provide food. We're going to provide water. We're going to help. My business is good, but the business over here, it's a mess, right? And so I'm going to come over and help. But I think the overarching message is having this, like things like this, having these relationships, they're key. Whether it's you folks with the fire department, vice versa, or with each other, having engagement, having conversation, getting on the same page, as it were, is really where the dividends pay off. Because when the emergency happens, if you have those relationships ahead of time, they really pay huge dividends going forward. Now, it doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't mean everything's going to be great and puppy dogs and rainbows, but it's a really great first step. I mean, right? We're talking about preparedness at the end of the day. That's what this is.
Well, thank you, Captain.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, well, with us? Got a couple of minutes.
Great.
I have one more.
Oh, you got it.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I may be missing.
Go for it.
Okay.
In a former life, I was Air Force Colonel. I was with the Corps of Engineers in LA when Katrina hit. So we watched all of that go down, and here's what I'm going to tell you was the experience from that. Thank you, Captain, for telling us. Go find your gas meter at your house and find out this little tiny valve is on there that hasn't been moved in 10 years, and you're going to run out and try and turn that to turn it on. I'm just telling you, check that out. I'm handing out a checklist here that came from AARP because I'm an old guy. And there's also a chart on the back, because what we found was, here's the scenario. The situation hits, whatever it is, earthquake, Katrina, all of that. The first thing you want to do is check where you're at and make sure you're okay. If you're in your business and everything is okay, go home. Send your employees home. Be home, that's where you need to be. Looters are doing the exact same thing you're doing, and so it takes them 2 or 3 days before they get out there to your business. And as the captain said, they're patrolling streets. They're looking for this stuff once they've taken care of theirs so they can catch the looters. You don't have to worry about that as much. On the back of that checklist, you will be shocked at how much stuff you use. Who can tell me what the average shower is and how much water you use for a shower? 8 minutes, 14 gallons. Who has a water heater in their house? There's 30 to 50 gallons of water that you can use if you need it. And it's clean, it's pure, it's sitting right there. That's the biggest issue we find. Here's the other issue. I got $200 in 20s, great. Here's a bottle of water, that's $20, I have no change. 5s and 1s, okay? Just check on the back of that checklist, how many meds do you take a week? Do you have a week's worth of meds? The average recovery is 4 to 7 days before all the power, the gas, the water starts to come back on. So you just need to survive until that starts. I'm happy to stand around. There were a whole bunch of things, primary federal officials and all the stuff that went on with Katrina. I had 104 different emergency response people come to a meeting at the Corps of Engineers to figure out what we were going to do in LA if we got the big earthquake. So happy to answer. Yes.
Bill, many, many years ago when I had a lot of little children around, one of the most important things that the fire chief at that time told us was have a meeting spot. Your kids are off at school, the others are at the high school, they're all over the place, including anybody, we're going to Anderson Park, don't come home, go to Anderson Park, and that works out very well. Everybody runs to the same place.
The only issue we had with that in Louisiana, it was, those places were flooded.
But
I'm just saying, like you said, every situation is different.
Oh, I understand
And
that.
I'm telling you to go home. I don't care where you are, your employees are safe, the store is in total disarray. Go where you're safe and find out what's going on with your family, get all that squared away. 4 to 7 days, the utilities will start coming back on. Meanwhile, do that checklist just for fun. 1 week, fill out all the stuff that you use. You will be shocked.
Forgot to mention, there's an opportunity coming up with Redondo Union High School. We heard our superintendent the week before, and Anthony Torno was talking about job mentorship, right? So we work a lot with, NRBBA works a lot with the business class there. And on October 20th and 21st, they are looking for volunteers to come into the classroom for the business students. You can come for an hour, you can come for the whole day, and go around to what they call their student farmers market. And what they do is then the kids have to sell whatever it is they buy. It's all food, so you get to eat for free. That's a good incentive. And they have to sell it to you, and you get to negotiate with them basically on that. So it's a really cool, fun day. Like I said, even if you come for an hour or two, but I do need names. If that is something you would like to participate in, I need to give your name in because you have to check it with your license at the school, and they have to have your name there. So that's happening, and then we're going to be doing a lot more with those classrooms. So so stay tuned.
Great, okay, just to let you know, our next two programs are Sean in the back is our financial planner, and he's going to do a presentation on one big beautiful bill and what the changes are and what we need to know about as businesses and residents. And then we've got Dave Cherobi over here who's going to work on our December program, and we're going to talk about the Olympics. The Olympics are coming. So the city has plans for the Olympics, and Dave is with Economic Development, and he knows about opportunities specifically for businesses. So you won't want to miss that. And then in January, we're going to be having a mixer at Trusted Gut, which is the brewery on 182nd. And if any of you came last year, it was super fun. So, and then I told you February, we're going to do the resiliency plan. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you in November, or maybe we'll bump into you at the Great Room. Yay.
There's the Domestic Violence Awareness Vigil, October 8th.